Welcome back to the Blitz here on 94.1 at San Antonio Sports Star. He's Joe Reinagel. I'm Jason Minix, and joining us now on the Buyers Barricade guest line, a man that really needs no introduction, Hall of Famer, Super Bowl winner, now Monday Night Football broadcaster, Troy Aikman, joining us here on the Blitz. And Troy, I think back a little more than a year ago, we were over at Top Golf, and you were introducing 8 Beer. And the beer journey since has just been incredible, watching everything you guys at 8 have done.
Yeah, it's been obviously a lot of work, but it's been real worthwhile. I've been traveling around the state, here over the last year and a half, keeping busy in the off season and then doing as much as I can in season with the beer. But I've got a great team, and it's been received very well by the public. And so, we've still got a lot of ground to cover, but we're real excited with our first year and all the things that we were able to accomplish. We hit all the milestones. We were the #1 independent growth brand light beer in the history of the state. And then we were the 7th nationally, even though we're only distributed in the state of Texas. And so I think the better for you side of it, with 100% organic grains and 90 calories and 2.6 carbs, I think that's really struck a chord with the beer drinking public that likes a light beer.
Troy, I got to tell you, quite frankly, my wife doesn't drink beer, but she loves 8. It's the only beer she'll drink. Have you found that to be the case as you travel around the state?
Yeah, I really have. I've heard from a lot of people, mostly women, but a lot of women that do not drink beer, have never really liked beer, that have given it a try, which I'm thankful that they give it a try, but more importantly, the fact that they have liked it, and if they are going to drink beer, then they stick with 8. So I've always said, and it's easy for me to say because I'm the owner, but yet I think that if you like the taste of 8, and you're a light beer drinker, I'm not real sure why you would ever drink anything else, because of the simple fact that it is 100% organic grains. And just as importantly, we have no adjuncts. So we don't add any corn, rice, syrup, or sugar. So it's the cleanest beer on the market. And it's the only widely available beer that can stake claim to having no adjuncts. So I'm real proud of it. It complements my lifestyle. I've always been very mindful of what I consume, and health and wellness is really important to me. And so for those times that I do want to be able to sit back and have a cold beer, I can feel pretty good about doing it.
Troy Aikman joining us here on the Blitz on 94.1 at San Antonio Sports Star. And you talk about the live, you look like you could still play. I mean, clearly you stay in shape, although we know right now Dak Prescott, has the job that, and the measuring stick. I mean, you think about Dak's got to go win in the playoffs. I am a Dak Prescott fan, Troy, have been, but I'm at the point where the guy's got to get it done in the postseason. What is it about this Cowboys team, back-to-back 12-win regular seasons, not getting it done in the playoffs?
Yeah, that's obviously been the frustrating part for them and for all Cowboys fans, that this is a team. If you look at it on the one hand as to what the Cowboys have done here over the last 25 years or so in the postseason, it hasn't been a lot. I think it's 4 playoff wins during that span. But then when you look at the same time frame and evaluate what they've done in the regular season, they're in the top 10, maybe even more than that, in terms of regular season wins. So they've had good teams for the most part. They've been competitive, and they've won a lot of games in the regular season that, for whatever reason, however, it just hasn't translated into the postseason, and they've not played their best football. And, I'm not saying anything that they don't already know. That's what has to change. And the reason that the teams that I was a part of were able to do what we were able to do and win Super Bowls was because we were able to play our best football when the games mattered most. And it's why the Kansas City Chiefs and the other teams that have won Super Bowls, it's why they win them in any of those given years. The Cowboys are working hard trying to fix that, and my hope is that they're able to. I like Dak as you do. I've been a big fan of his. I love the way that he plays. I love that, he's an old school quarterback, and that all that matters to him is winning games. The rest of it is insignificant, and he'll be the first to admit to that. And so I'm hopeful that he's able to get over the hump. And I know just getting to the NFC Championship game would be a real milestone for this football team, but they have bigger ambitions than that.
Well, Troy, you know as well as anybody for sure that the pressure on the Dallas Cowboys quarterback is probably bigger than any other team in the NFL. There's just the spotlight is on you. But when you look at Dak Prescott and you tell me as a quarterback, does it help a quarterback to have some competition behind him, somebody that could actually threaten his job, or is it better to just know that you're the guy?
Well, I think I always think competition brings out the best in all of us. But I also know that there are those players, and Dak being one of them, that it wouldn't really matter who was the backup, that he's going to put in the same amount of time and work just hard. So I don't think that would necessarily motivate Dak any more than he's already motivated. He understands, and it's what I'm most proud of, to be quite honest with you. I'm proud that I was able to further the legacy of the Dallas Cowboys in the quarterback position by winning Super Bowls, and kind of build on what Roger Staubach and the team of the 70s were able to do. And you think about the career that Danny White had in taking them to 3 straight NFC championship games. But a lot of people failed to acknowledge that because they didn't win the Super Bowl and followed Roger Staubach. But now that is the criteria and that is the standard that has been set. And Dak understands that. So whether he had another quarterback, a veteran quarterback that was capable of stepping in and winning games, he had that in Andy Dalton a couple of years ago. I don't think it much matters. He's thinking about what he wants to accomplish for his own legacy, but also to just build on what we were able to do in the 90s and the teams of the 70s.
3-time Super Bowl winning quarterback with the Dallas Cowboys, Troy Aikman, joining us here on the Blitz. And you look at Dak, and this year Mike McCarthy is going to call plays, which you think about the way he built his career as a play caller. I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do in that area. What is your expectation for this Cowboys with McCarthy actually as the play caller?
Well, I don't think the bar can be set too high. I feel like Kellen Moore did a really good job as offensive coordinator. He had a great relationship with Dak Prescott. He was a teammate of his when Dak first came into the league, and then clearly became his coach and offensive coordinator. I was surprised when Mike took the job in Dallas that he did not take on the play calling at that time. But I think it was a good decision, wanting to keep some continuity with what Dak was doing offensively and kept Kellen Moore as the coordinator. But I know he enjoyed play calling when he was in Green Bay, and they had some prolific offenses when he was there. And of course, they had 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers while he was coaching there as well. But those are fairly big shoes that he's stepping into with the job that Kellen did, and maybe the lack of success in the postseason is why the change was made and why Mike then wanted to have more of his fingerprints on this offense. But he understands that at the end of the day, it doesn't much matter, and we've known this for a while of what they're able to do in the regular season. It's what happens in the postseason, and that's when Mike's going to be judged as to what he's able to do offensively and how good this team can be.
Troy, when you look at the NFL right now and some of the last Super Bowl winners, Kansas City not really included, but when you look at Tampa Bay and you look at the Rams before, they built their teams to win now. And it seems like Jerry Jones has never done that until perhaps this year. Do you think that that's what the Cowboys are doing with the addition of Brandon Cooks and Stephon Gilmore and what they've done with that defense and putting some weapons around Dak?
Well, it's a fair question. I from my perspective, looking at it, I can certainly see why you and others might think, oh, well, they're going all in this year because they haven't been quite as active in years past in the off season in the free agency market. But I just feel that, one, I think the personnel department's done a really nice job, and Will McClay gets a lot of credit for what he's been able to do. But all the scouts, everyone involved, the Joneses as well. They've put together a really talented roster, but I think that the free agency acquisitions this year, those players you mentioned particularly, they were able to get those guys at really good prices. I was just talking to someone earlier today about Brandon Cooks. I've been a big fan of his since I first saw him back when he was playing for the New Orleans Saints. And the fact that he's been traded so many times and has played really well everywhere that he's been, I think he's a terrific player. So to get him I think they gave up a 5th-round pick, if my memory serves me right, which was a steal in my opinion. And then the same with Stephon Gilmore. So I think it was more that these 2 great players, Stephon being a former NFL Defensive Player of the Year, that they could get them at a really good price and add to what they already have, is what led them to then pick those guys up, which is really good for the Cowboys. They didn't give up much to do it. So they keep a lot of picks intact and they continue to grow this roster. And so I think that last year was a really talented roster. Every year is a little bit different, but going in, at least on paper, this is a pretty good group.
Well, in Troy, you think about, it seems like all the better teams, most of the better teams are on the AFC side. The NFC seems pretty wide open. DeMarcus Lawrence said this past week that he doesn't see a big gap between the Cowboys and the Eagles. You look at San Francisco, if they can figure out the health of Brock Purdy, is this the year for the Cowboys to at least get to the NFC Championship game or the clear path to the Super Bowl?
Well, maybe. I agree with you that the AFC seems to have the strength of the most teams, and that's primarily because, as is usually the case, they've got the strength at the quarterback position. But I think for the Cowboys, they've got to get out of their own division first, and the Eagles are going to be good once again. And I don't think there's a lot that separates the Cowboys from the Eagles. But now you've got the Giants. Not a lot was thought of them going into last year, and then they had a really great run. I expect that to continue. Washington, they're kind of the odd team out. I don't know how much better they're going to be. But those are three playoff teams from a year ago that'll be competing within the division. You mentioned San Francisco. I like them. Green Bay, without Aaron Rodgers, it'll be interesting to see what they're able to do. But, yeah, I think that overall, assuming that if they can take care of business within their own division, which has always been the key, and that really was the key back when I was playing, that when the NFC East was at its best, which was most of those years throughout that decade of the 90s, if you could win that division, you could play with anybody in football. And I think the same could be said going into this year. And San Francisco, I've loved everything about what they do. And I love Kyle Shanahan as the play caller and the head coach. But, I think this year is a year. I think last year, I think they've had a lot of years, to be honest with you, that they've been good enough to possibly go and contend and get to the championship game and make it to the Super Bowl representing the NFC. And this year's no different.
Troy, we could talk football all day long, but we got the 4th of July coming up, obviously, next week. And 8 Beer is supporting Military Warrior Support Foundation. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we've got a Patriot package that's out right now that we put together. And with every sale, part of the proceeds is going to the Military Warrior Support Foundation. It's a tremendous group. I'm very prideful to be an American. I'm proud of the American flag, proud of those men and women that have fought for our freedoms and the things that we enjoy, and we celebrate that on the 4th of July. And so the Military Warrior Support Foundation supports the wounded veterans as well as Gold Star families, and it's a terrific group, and just thrilled to be associated with them and all the great work they're doing for these men and women that have fought for our freedoms, and we'll continue to do things like that for the military and other organizations really throughout the state that promote health and wellness and getting people back on their feet.
And I noticed a video, Troy, that you posted yesterday on Instagram talking about a Texas-based beer brand in 8, and the beer is brewed in the United States. It is truly an American beer.
Yes, it is, and very proud of that. And the video, that I posted, there are a lot of beer brands out there that are not American-owned, and yet they put an American flag on their package and try to show that they're patriotic to the USA. And I just encourage on the 4th of July, as we celebrate this great country of ours, that for those that are partaking in alcoholic beverages and drinking beer, that they, whether it's 8 Beer or any other American-owned beer brand, that we celebrate America and all that it represents.
Go to HEB, get yourself a case of 8 and enjoy it, not only on the 4th, but all the time, because it is a great beer. Troy Aikman with 8, Super Bowl champion. Always appreciate the time, Troy. We'll catch up soon.
Thanks, fellas. Appreciate you.